program we had this year. All three levels had winning records and strong winning records. I don't know if anybody kept track of JV or JV1 roster or schedule and results, but I'm guessing that we would have been on top of both of those tables if they'd been. So just to see what our boys did this year was fun and exciting to see. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to call up Jared Wire, our JV2 coach, and any assistance that AJ is going to be giving him on this. And we'll start the JV2 part of the program. Coach, how do you want them coming up to receive their awards?
So JV2 guys, just come up here. Freshmen to start, and the juniors. So JV2, come on up.
Okay, so this is my first year coaching ever, and I literally could not ask for a better team to coach. All the boys always came on the field ready to fight and ready to win. And I had a couple that still didn't come to practices, but we still got practices in, and it was a great time. And like I said, I could have asked for a better team to have coached. Okay. We only got 6 up here. Well, let's start with Zach Hanner then.
Just line it over here. Just line it over, maybe have line it over here and then
Okay, next we have Brett Heath.
soccer player.
Soren Gustafsson. Brady Weeman. Fernando Elitano. And lastly, we have Ivan Solis. Okay, so next we're gonna do the Coaches Award, which I have awarded to Zach Hanner. Despite injuries and everything, like crazy season, he still came out always trying his hardest.
Good. Hey. There it is. And then JV2, you guys can go.
Now it's live.
Jared, you gotta call a loser.
So what are you supposed to do when it says that?
Yeah, 2 stragglers.
The 2 losers.
That's oh.
Yeah, they go for that.
Where's my boy AJ at? AJ Rodriguez, come up here. What are you doing? I guess Eric Lawrence is gonna follow him too. Okay. Well, we got a couple awards for you boys. So let's give Eric Flores his Offensive Player of the Year. This is what they voted on for the season. AJ is receiving the Defensive Player of the Year. And AJ is also receiving the Integrity Award. That's all I have here.
It'll say
Good job, boys.
in a second. Just the screen, the caption set itself.
What's that? Sound good. Oh man, so another year in the books. When I think about this season, starting from the beginning, I'm thinking about just how there was this large group of juniors. I mean, huge group of juniors. So when we broke them into different grade levels, when you guys were running like that four corners thing you were doing, and the junior group was just this massive elephant herd running from one corner to the other. Then you've got this small little senior group, small little freshman group, small little sophomore group, but you could hear those juniors coming. And they all came ready to play. They had high expectations coming into the season off the bat, which they should have. We have a really talented, deep Tremper program. And that extends all the way from our seniors down to our freshmen. When you have freshmen coming in that can make your varsity squad, you know you've got a pretty deep program. So then you've got all these juniors. And we're looking at the roster. Who do we put where? Why? What do we need? How can we fill this position? How are we going to get them the best playing time possible to make them a better soccer player for the future, to make them a better man going forward? What can we do for these guys? So it was a long talk between all the coaches. And that was one of those nights that I'm thankful that I'm not a head coach of the program. And I get to defer to whatever he gives me at the end of the day. I knew just by looking at that roster, whoever was going to end up on my team, we were going to have a great season. There was no bones about it. I had high expectations for these guys. So right off the bat, a couple of them even came up to me and asked, why didn't I make varsity? What can I do? How can I be better? And it's nice to be able to say, they don't like to hear it. It's nice to be able to say, you were on that bubble. You were right there. It could have gone either way. We think this is going to be a better fit this year, but we have high expectations. And we set those from the beginning, right off the bat. A couple of the highlights going into it this season was our defense. I had absolutely all the faith in the world in our defense, and I think our defenders felt it. I think the rest of the team, the midfield, the offensive players, knew that they could rely on these guys. We started out with, and this is how good these guys are, we set it up from the get-go. What was it, maybe 3 or 4 games in, we realized nobody is getting through our defense. Nobody's getting to the goalie. He's bored back there, twiddling his thumbs, juggling the ball. Nobody's getting through our defense. Got 4 guys back there that nobody can penetrate. So we came up with a little plan in case our offense wasn't working. This team was so smart that I could take them from a 4-3-3, which we were training them to do, so they'd be ready for that next level. And in the middle of the game, if we weren't generating the offense we wanted, Coach and I could do just a number like this, and they would go right into a 3-4-3. So they'd go down to 3 defenders, then 4 in the middle, and we'd start pounding the other team. Now, we did do this in practice one time. Sorry, JV2 guys. We had a scrimmage, and we wanted to try it out to see if it would work. And sure enough, within about 5 minutes, we started to overwhelm them. and scored, and it did exactly what we needed it to do. We were talking to the JV2 defenders, what'd you see, what happened? And one of the smartest JV2 defenders just sat there and said, all of a sudden there was more offense than we could handle, and I didn't know what to do about it. I said, that's what we want. That's what we want. So we did it in the next game. And I think our record goes to show that not only was our defense good, but our offense was able to generate a few goals as well. A lot by hustle, and then a lot by the confidence coming from that defensive set of stops. So our record just in the kind of regular season without the little tournament we went to is 9-0-1. One tie against ITA. But other than that, we pretty much solidified our place as a JV powerhouse, Southeast Wisconsin. It's 61 goals for us and 6 against us. We never let more than 2 goals in at any game. So that's our defense. Stalwart, loyal, faithful. They'll take care of that ball. It's never getting back to that keeper. We never had a worry in the world. Then our offense. Now, I was an offensive player all throughout high school and then going into college. For some reason, that's always been my struggle to coach. It's always been this kind of creative. I want them to be creative. I want them to put moves on the ball. I want them obviously to move it, pass it around, make sure it's getting from one side of the pitch to the other, coming from all kinds of different directions in different ways. And there would be times, this was one of the strangest years I've ever had to coach offensively. Because we'd go into a game and all of a sudden we'd be up 5-0 in 5 minutes. And I'm trying to figure out, all right, now how do I rein them in? Because I'm not trying to absolutely annihilate. So I'd move my defenders forward, right? Because defenders can't score. So I'd move my defenders forward and say, look, the only time you can score is if you're off a volley or it's a really difficult shot or off a header. And he goes in and scores within 30 seconds. So then I'm looking at the next guy and I pull him. I pull him in 1 minute, take him out. Say, all right, we need to rethink this a little bit. This is the only year that I've ever had to think about on multiple occasions, how do I slow us down? Because our offense just would not pull in the reins, which is a good problem to have. And then there was that flip side on other games where you can't get them to score 1 goal. They'll have 14 chances in front of the net and nothing's going in. They're hitting the post. They're putting it right to the goalie. They're dragging it all the way into the second half before one of the big words that stands out in my mind this year, especially for our offensive players in our tougher games, was hustle. We had especially two kids this year that would just not quit. They would chase that ball down, put it in the back of the net, and just work until they were able to get that ball in the back of the net, put us comfortable up top again. So a lot of fun to coach you guys. I think one of the biggest thing that stands out for me this year, and this probably happened more in the second half of the season, caught myself saying this same phrase over and over and over again, which was, guys, this is going to be the toughest team that we face going into Franklin, right? And we go to Oak Creek. Hey, Oak Creek, we can't let our guard down. This is going to be the toughest game that we face. This is the toughest team we face. Looking up some of the other schools, Union Grove had gotten close to a team that we had played. Okay, this is going to be the toughest team that you guys are going to face. By the end of the game, we're up 4-0, 5-0, 3-0. You guys proved that you were the toughest team that anybody was going to face. So for that, JV guys, I want to say, well done. You proved exactly what we set out to prove, and our high expectations at Tremper were met with every single game that you played. So I'm going to start off just by handing out the numerals and the patches and all that stuff, and then I'll go into these specific awards voted on by mostly their teammates, and then also a couple were from coaches as well. There is one thing I forgot. I didn't bring my notes up. They're sitting on the desk back there. I hopped right into it. I've got a few people that I've got to thank. So obviously, my dad was co-coach with me, and that was another just special year. So if any of you guys, younger guys, if you ever get a chance to coach with family, take that opportunity. Take that opportunity, because there's nothing more special than doing something with your family that you both enjoy and love. And honestly, I couldn't do it without them. We talk all the time, all throughout soccer season. Pretty much that's what's happening. Sometimes we'll turn on a Benaj game and watch that. We'll just be talking soccer, making sure that we're ready for the next day. So couldn't have done it without him. So thank you. Coach Al and Coach Velasco, you guys are always, through your example, pushing me to become a better coach. I've learned a lot over the last couple of years having you guys in the program, and so I really appreciate that. Definitely couldn't grow as a coach and do what we're doing here without you guys kind of leading the helm, so thank you for that. And then she's not going to hear this because she's not here, but my wife we've got three little ones, so she basically becomes a single parent for about 3 months out of the year, and without her kind of taking on those extra responsibilities and roles, I wouldn't be able to do what I do. And so thank you. You can clap it up, even though she'll never hear it. And so just one more encouragement: keep surrounding yourself with good people, because that's what makes this all work as a Tremper soccer program. It's the people above you and the people around you, and that's the only way we keep moving forward like we are. All right, let's get into some of these awards. Chase Gavinsky, come on down. Yeah, numbers. I don't think they're Roman. They're American. What do we got? Oh, no. We need Josh Bergnock next. We're going freshman first. Come on. Kenny Wire, come on down. Now moving on to our sophomore class here, Nathan Perez. All right, on to juniors. Leo Ruffalo, come on down. Jacob Purr. Matthew Stannard. Seth Olson. And Frankie Chianello. I can't say enough about these guys. I've seen some of these faces now for 3 years straight, and hopefully I won't see you guys on my pitch next year. At least some of you. I look forward to having some of you guys back and seeing your growth that way. But a lot of these guys I've seen, just grow up in the program. So I'm looking forward to obviously what they're going to do next year. So it's a little bit bittersweet because I do want to see them move on. But we had another good season and definitely a lot of fun. Why don't you guys don't you guys sit, and then I'll just call you up for the individual ones. Make you work a little bit here. All right, a few of these guys showed up. So we'll hand out the ones we got here. First one, so first award we got here, and this is, some of these are voted on by teammates. I think your teammates a lot of times know you the best. And so some of these awards are based on who your teammates know you as, because you can hide things obviously from coaches, but you can't hide from your teammates. So first one up here is most improved. So Kenny Wire, why don't you come on down? Kenny definitely, to say the least, filled a lot of roles on our team. So there are a couple of guys that obviously I've had for going on 3 years now, and I know where they fit, I know where I like them, I know where their strengths are, whether they agree with me or not, so that's where they end up. And Kenny was one of those kind of utility players, role players. All right, Kenny, this guy needs to sell, man. I need you to hop in there. I'm going to give you some advice. Play it this way. Just do your best. That's all I'm asking. So I think he ended up almost in every position except for goalie this year, at least pretty close or possible. And he filled those roles well. And you guys who are players now can imagine, you know how hard that is to be in a different position every time you go in, which requires different mindsets and different strengths from you. And what I saw, especially particularly by the end of the season, he was really listening to me when I gave instruction, and he did exactly what I asked when I put him in any position. And I think the guys noticed that too, that not only did his skills and his vision on the pitch change, but he's also playing his roles very well. So thank you, Kenny. You guys heard me talk a lot about our defense this year, and we definitely couldn't have done what we did without our defense. So you can imagine when you sign up for a Defensive Player of the Year award, and you have 4 guys who you can't imagine not being in the defense, how hard it is to give out the Defensive Player of the Year. Again, thankfully, the guys who were around him voted on this. And if anybody stands out this year as a Defensive Player of the Year, not that we could have done it without each guy that was back there, but if there's a standout this year from everything from work ethic, coming before practice, staying late after practice, working the skills, and leading our team well, Frankie Chianello, you were going to How much spotlight do you want? This is an interesting. I might be 3 years running. He's gotten some kind of award from me, and but this is the first year he's actually made it. So I'm thankful that he's not dying of something this year during the awards banquet like he has almost every other year. If anybody knows this guy, you would know that he's going to do whatever it takes, wherever it takes, to make sure that his team is going to have the best possible opportunity. He is an all-out hustler, never stops running, even when he probably should. And this year, he took on kind of a new role. I saw him transitioning last year from being really excited to just go after the ball and try to score, to how can I get an assist? Did you write that down, Coach? I passed it, and then it went 3 other guys, and then it got to him. Do I get a half of an assist for that? He was trying to do everything he could to make our team better as far as the assists were concerned. And sure enough, when we tallied everything up at the end of the year, Seth Olson had most assists for our team. All right, now 2 of my favorite awards. honestly, if I could give an award to each one of my players this year, I think every single person on the team has earned it a number of different ways. And so guys who don't get awards, just know that if I could make up an awards, each one of you would have gotten one this year. This one was voted on by his fellow teammates. This one's called the Integrity Award. I would trust this man with my wallet and my car keys, and I know that he would take care of things to his utmost. And I know he was always one of the guys grabbing the ball bag, grabbing cones, making sure that he was lifting his teammates' spirits up. And if there's anyone that you can trust more than Jacob Purr, let me know. He earned the Integrity Award. You just reminded me I did trust him with the car keys at one point. All right. Definitely another fun award to give out. I've had this young man for 3 years now. He could have earned multiple awards tonight between his work ethic and the way he leads our team into each practice, each game, his honesty, again, the integrity, always asking if there's anything he could do to help, and really coming alongside his teammates to make sure that they are better off than where they were. So the Coaches Award this year goes to Leo Ruffalo. And that pretty much concludes the JV portion there. I just want to give those guys one more round of applause. They did great this year.
Okay, I'm gonna, she hemmed and hawed about this. I said, Coach, you want to say something? She said, I don't know, maybe not. Okay, well, but I talked her into it. She's gonna go for it. Coach Allison.
Now that it's adjustable, I'll just bring it down. I wasn't sure it was gonna be too tall for me, so. Anyways, just thanks everyone for coming. First and foremost, like Coach AJ and Coach Blasco said, thanks to the parents. You guys, I know I can speak for all the boys, but working with the varsity the last 2 years, I know where they get all of their work ethic, their character. I mean, this is a fantastic group of young men that we get to work with, and I appreciate that. And I want all you boys to turn around and clap for your parents. They're really good listeners too. No, but I had a blast. I want to thank Coach Blasco for bringing me up last year as the assistant for the varsity. I always was part of the varsity, being the JV and the JV2 coach. I'd come to all the games and really be excited to cheer them on the sideline, but it really made a big difference to be an active role in the team, and I appreciate that. And I've seen some of these guys from their freshman year all the way to senior year, and the growth that they've made just as players, but more importantly, as people, and I just appreciate that. And you guys are just great, and you're a special team that I'll remember for a long time, just for how you guys came together. And no matter what role you had on the team, no matter where you were, no matter what you were doing, you were all in for each other. And I appreciate that, and there's not many teams like that. So really cherish that, and I really appreciate it, and I really enjoyed it, and I can't wait for everyone that's coming back. But for your seniors that are leaving, hopefully you come back and visit. But I wish you the best, and yeah, it was a great season, and thanks for letting me talk.
I knew she could do it. I'm gonna get thanks out of the way at the beginning here. My wife won't see it either, and I don't have any little ones at home anymore. But every year she knows the season. She calls it the sports widow thing, and she knows that I'll be gone late most nights, and she'll go to bed way before me because I'm still cranked up about the game, and she just accepts it. And this was year 31 for me coaching, so she's been dealing with this for a long time. So if you ever see her or think of her, yeah, say hi. She deserves it. And then, I've had opportunity to have coaching staffs over the years, some better than others, some more involved than others. But I can say honestly that I've never had a staff of coaches like I have here at Trimper. To see their passion for the kids, and I'll get into it a little bit later, but when we had our conference meeting and I nominated Allison as assistant coach of the year, my selling point wasn't her soccer knowledge. I said she's got all of it. She played at a high level. She played in college. But I just don't know any assistant coach who cares about the kids more than she does. And that's just massive. And it goes down to Coach AJ and to his dad and Jared. I mean, bringing Jared on late, but that's partly not because he wasn't ready. It's just because there's like 45,000 hoops you got to jump through to be employed in the district. So just to see the passion that they have for these guys is just heartwarming. So if you get a chance, reach out to them and thank them because they deserve that. What an honor to coach this program. We've played in the last 2 years, and I know everybody in the world has dealt with it, but to have 2 seasons that are affected by COVID, one more than the other. But in 2 seasons, our varsity squad has played 34 games, and we've lost 4. And 2 of those are to end the season in tournament. So it's just an amazing stretch that these young guys have been a part of. And obviously some of them are new to it this year. But there's just so much talent, and to echo what was said earlier, coachable. I can't tell you how many times in years past where I've told a team, hey, we need to do this, and I have to say it 4 or 5 times before it catches on. Very often with this group, it's like the nod of the head happens, and they turn around and they handle it, and it automatically looks different than it did before. They just have a passion about being good. They have a passion about doing it right, and they enjoy what they do. And I'll share some other stories that'll fit that narrative pretty well throughout the time that I'm talking, but they're to be commended. And you can't commend the kids without commending the parents. And I've had, again, over that time period, I've had moments where parents have become disruptive, and they've inspired their kids to be disruptive. And I've got to tell you that we had 0 problems the last 2 years. These guys are about as high shelf as I've ever experienced in coaching youth. Moms, dads, you guys have done an amazing job. Well done. Well done. So I'm going to go through each player. We'll start with our freshmen and work our way up, and we'll do it alphabetically. So nobody thinks that there's any reason for this other than that. The first guy is not here, so we skip him. He's actually training for a tournament in Florida and wasn't able to get away. So I'll talk a little bit about him again later, but that's Dylan Bazat. This young man, he came on, and your first thought when you looked at him was, Yeah, he probably doesn't have a varsity body. He probably would not hold up well on the varsity level physically. And then you watch him play, and you realize that he's hurting people. He's handling his business very well, and never once backing down from any challenge. He plays taller than he is. He plays stronger than he is. He found time this year based on no other thing than he earned it, and his future is extremely bright, and that is Ernie Virgili. Ernie. My freshman. All right. Well, hey, you got some good prompts there, didn't you? All right. Isaac is a young man that was part of a. If you're not aware, early in the season, a coach talked about it when we went out to dinner, the 4 coaches, and we worked through the roster, and we spent a lot of time trying to figure out who goes where. And this year on varsity, the WIA normally has 25-man limit, but that's only for the tournament. And so we decided that, or I decided, if you're for it or against it, but that we would keep extra players on the varsity level so that they would get to experience it, as opposed to having a JV squad that's just packed, or some that would have been, maybe possibly even cut. We didn't even go that route, so we didn't worry about it. This young man, Isaac, was one that took that opportunity, I think, and I can honestly say that I think I saw him grow in his understanding of the game and application of the game more than most. His work rate was top shelf. Never once was he pouting or lagging behind because he didn't get a ton of time. He kept using each training moment to get better at what he did, and that's going to benefit him so greatly going forward. It's going to be fun to watch him go the next 2 years. Isaac Kushner. Does Matt here? Greg? Matt's not here. Okay. And we're already into our juniors. And we've got a lot of them. Cal, the argument is going to be made, and I'll let you find out who's going to make it, but they usually, at some point during the season, have a bunch of races. They want to see who's the fastest. And Daniel usually says he is, and he usually comes out on top of a lot of them. But we were talking about game time speed and just making things up on the field. I don't think I've ever seen recovery runs defensively like Cal's did this year. There were literally times where I turned my back to the field going, he's caught up field. We're in trouble. We're exposed. And all of a sudden I look back again, and he's in not only dealing with the attacker, but he's in front of him. His pace and his work rate, it was just probably as strong as I've ever seen. It just doesn't seem like he ever feels like the game or the play is done. He's always in the play, whether he's got to work real hard to get back to it or whether he's just doing his job. Our back line, this is a good time to interject this. Last year, we were a team that we stepped on the field and we knew we were going to have 5 goals regardless. We didn't even have to worry about it. I think in the 11 games that we played last year, we averaged about 5.5 goals a game. On the varsity level, that's just unheard of. And this year, I know we didn't have that. So we turned our attention to our midfield and our back line. And I literally have a back line that is part of the reason why AJ had the back line he did, because there just wasn't room for everybody. But both squads, our back line was exceptional. And Cal was a huge part of that, playing out on the wing. So Cal Adamczyk. Kane had a working vacation this year. He was injured early on, unfortunately, and was just never able to get right until the end. So we had him bookend our season for us. I still joke, his brother still owes him a dinner somewhere, because if he'd have finished the number of times that Kane gave him a perfect ball last year, he'd have had 40 goals, not 29. His preciseness is something to be excited about as he plays. He just doesn't get rattled. He's always aware of what needs to happen next. He already knows, we talk about this all the time, about knowing what your options are before the ball hits your foot. That's Kane. He is always aware of what his options are going forward and plays it really well. And his communication and his cover-up, his second defender skills, backing up his teammates on the back line are as good as there is. I'm looking forward to seeing his senior year healthy and being a part of what we do on a big-time level. Kane Benach. Matt, when we started our season, we were telling everybody what squad they were going to be on, and I remember Matt being in front of us and looking nervous and not sure what was going to happen, and I told him that he was going to be in with the varsity roster, and that it was going to be, at this level. I said, you're going to be on the depth chart at the third position, and it was so exciting and refreshing to see that his response was, "I'm glad to be on varsity, coach. Just let me be a part of that." And his enthusiasm and his work rate toward his craft is probably as strong as I've seen. He gives himself to every opportunity to be taught, coached, taking advantage of work, camps and workouts like that. His desire to be as good as he can be is unmatched. And that's something that you can't really teach. That's just inside of him. And it's going to benefit him greatly, not only in the sport, but in his life. And it's exciting to have him be a part of our program. Matt Berman. Gianni we have a number of players that didn't get a ton of time this year, but made sure that when they were out, they gave it everything they had, and they were able to do good things. And Gianni is, again, the number of times I'm going to say things seems like I just can't come up with new stuff, but it fits. Every time I say it about somebody, it fits. Gianni's coachability is up. It's way up. His willingness to do whatever he's told for the sake of the team first, and then for his improvement second, is just phenomenal. And it makes it very enjoyable to coach somebody like that. And the best part is that when he's not in the game, you know that he's still in the game. His time on the bench his teammates know, I've got your back, I'm here. And he's ready. Any moment where I got to go in, I'm ready. That's quality. And it's fun to have somebody like that in the program and around. Gianni. Emiliano. First of all, he's figured it out. He's already a USA fan. He's got the kit. He's got everything, right? Attaboy. He's a little off on his club selection, but we'll be okay with that. Emiliano is phenomenal. when I got here, Coach Allison said, like, obviously I didn't know anybody yet. And we're going through standing watching training, and she's helping me learn who's who. And when she would get to Emiliano, she said, "You're going to love him. He's such an amazing kid." And she wasn't lying. Emiliano is the ultimate teammate. He wants to play. He wants to do well. Those are all great things. And he never lacks for effort when he gets his time. But the lack of getting time never stops him from giving effort. And that's top all the way through. I mean, you can't ask for anything more from a person on a roster. And he earns your applause. He earns this moment. Emiliano Camacho. Is not here. Okay. I had one coach tell me after a game this year, and you wouldn't think of it by looking at him, but told me that Daniel Chiappetta was a beast. He's not big. He's not scary looking, but his skill set makes it very difficult for somebody else in the opposing color of jersey to be successful. And that's what the coach meant. We couldn't stop him. He made us look like we were standing still. And his skill set is his greatest asset and sometimes his greatest nemesis, because he tends to want to trust it a lot, as he should. But as he continues to grow as a player and take all that skill and be surgical with it, then yeah, the beast thing fits really well. He is a quality young man, and he would argue that the fastest kid on the team, and just a real talent and a joy to have out in the center of the pitch and kind of running the show. He's done a great job for us over the last 2 years. Daniel Chiappetta. Josiah. Josiah is very similar in style of play as Daniel. Josiah doesn't look like he's working hard when he's doing it. He's very fluid with his movement. He's very comfortable and confident in his skill set. And near the end of the season, we got him to believe that you can just let that go. That he doesn't have to worry about being, pulled off the field immediately if something doesn't work. I'd rather see a player like him go ahead and take somebody on and look to do something to gain advantage than not have that confidence. And his skill set is that good. His game this year against Thomas More, right? Against Thomas More? Yeah, that was phenomenal. And so if anybody took video of that game, send a copy to Josiah, and I want him to play it like every night before he goes to bed. But he is, it's fun to watch him. As we're getting ready to start a training session, he's got every trick in the book, and he uses them. And it's just fun to see him have that confidence. He's going to get better, and he's going to be a very valuable part of what we do next year. Josiah. Alex is the most intense young man I've ever coached. Alex Scotts, if you don't have experience with him, he wants to coach now. Playing gets in the way. He's going to be a great coach someday. because of his desire to break down everything into parts of him being able to figure out ways of having advantage, taking a situation that an opposing team gives them and breaking them down, or seeing a talent on the other side, knowing how to limit what they do. When we beat Oak Creek, which was for the title for the conference, we knew there was one player they had that was going to be dangerous, and we really didn't do a lot of planning for it. All I had to say was, Alex, 10 is the guy that you want to pay attention to. And then when I talked to the Oak Creek coach, he says, you guys game planned amazingly against him. He couldn't get anything. And at the moment I smiled, but I didn't have the heart just to tell him, no, we didn't really game plan against him. We just put Alex on him. And that was kind of it. So his desire to excel and be on top of every factor is just about as amazing as I've seen at this level. He's come in, and I didn't know until this year. He's played holding mid for me for 2 years, and he said this year at training one day, yeah, I've never played that position before here. It never stopped him from excelling, though. He's going to be an amazing player next year, and you may already know, is committed to play soccer at UW-Whitewater when he graduates. Maybe. I think I just got fired. Evan, if I'd have known that he was so excitable when we won conference and when we won regional, he blindsided me both times. I'm looking at the field or congratulating the other coach on their game played, and I turn around for a jumping chest bump that I was not aware of was coming my way. It's only by my size and girth that allowed me to keep standing. And I think he did it on purpose. He wanted to see if he could take me down. But his excitement for the game is contagious. And I'll talk about him a little bit later as well, but he showed an amazing team attitude this year beyond anything I could even hope for. He's a quality player on top of it. Last year as a sophomore, earning a starting role. And this year that shifted a little bit, but it didn't shift his desire to excel and exceed what he did the prior year. When he would go in and come off the field, kind of like the blindsiding with the chest jump, I'd be starting to go back to pay attention to the game, and I'd look up and I'd find Evan right in front of me, what I need to do better. And usually at those moments, it's like, go sit down, Evan, I'll talk to you later. But I just couldn't. I always answered him because there's such a passion for wanting to improve, and I don't want to squelch that. So he's been an amazing part of this team for the last 2 years. One more to go, and I'm sure he'll bring that for the senior year as well. Have a good season. I got him. Here. You get. I got him. All right. Okay.
Oh my God.
Yeah. Conor. His improvement this year was way more than hoped for. He had quality time last year as a sophomore, and this year as a junior, he solidified his position in that starting midfield. Early on in the season, we talked about what kind of ball we wanted to see in set pieces and on corner kicks, and Conor is pretty surgical, and they work a lot on it. and he'd like to, take this big lofting ball to the back post. And I asked him, I said, Conor, I want to see driven balls in those spaces. I want them to have to try to react and play a ball that's hard to deal with, or that we can just redirect. And I think the first time he did it, he scored, and he turned, and he said, driven ball, coach. I said, yeah, because he does it so well. As somebody standing on a wall, I don't want that ball coming in my head if it's driven like that, and he has that ability. He was our second leading goal scorer this year from the midfield. He took ownership of what he needed to do and did it well. He's got more growth in him, and we're looking forward to seeing it next year. Conor Heath. Isaiah Montero is not here. Alex Ramirez is here. No. And Raimundo. He was not offside more than he was this year. And we joke about it, but it's not because he doesn't pay attention. It's just because he's got so much desire to excel that he can't slow himself down sometimes. Again, another player that if you stood next to him, you're going to get hurt. He's not thick, but we saw growth in him as a player this year. I looked at the film the other day of our game against Franklin for the regional title that went, or the regional or sectional semis that went into overtime, and it was finished by Ryan, and it was a nice through ball by Daniel, but it was also started by Raimundo out on the wing. Coming back, winning possession, playing a squared ball to Daniel. It was all connected. His growth of the understanding of the game has been the most fun to see because his passion for it is it's unmatched. And he's usually the last one to leave after practice or whatnot, but that gives me a great opportunity to get to know him better. And it's been fun to do that. Raimundo Salas. Okay, seniors, here we go. Is Hunter here? No Hunter. No Jordan. Okay. Alex Mendoza. You should have come out as a junior, bud. His growth this year, it was during the season, but he went from, and we joked about it often, where at the beginning of the year, I'd tell him, hey, Alex, go in, play center forward. He'd go for 5 minutes, literally, and he'd be turning to the sidelines going, Coach. And by the end, I think that if I needed him to, he could have gone a half. He could have played the whole time. It would have been hard. It would hurt a little, but he's just got a natural touch, a natural feel for the game. So many times he'd make a simple little move that at the time it happened, you're going, well, that was exceptional. But it wasn't something that would stand out in a game film. But it was just because he knew how to set up an attack, a defender, and he knew where his teammates were running. He ended up earning a very valuable spot for us this year and being one of the first forwards off the bench at the end of the season, because I asked my team to play at a high level of intensity. I want them to press. I want them to work hard in the defensive end. So they're going to need breaks once in a while. And Alex gave us a great deal of versatility in being able to put him in and being really comfortable in that spot. So I'm really glad he decided to join us this year. I hope it was successful for you. Alex Mendoza. He was on the team the least this year. That's only because when we started, he wasn't sure that he was going to come back out. He played as a sophomore. I saw him train a little bit, last year as we were having two-a-days. Then we got to our summer stuff. When we got to two-a-days, I was asking, and at that time he had longer hair. I said, where's the kid with the straight blonde hair? I didn't even know his name yet, but I knew I'd seen him play. And I was getting from players, I don't think he's coming out, coach. And he didn't. And I didn't know what to expect for him to come out this year, but he wasn't there at the start of this year either. We got done, was it our second game, Matt? First game? Our first game here at home. And we're walking off the field after the victory, and Matt Thompson comes up to me and goes, Coach, I got somebody who wants to be on the team. And here's Brian standing on the track, just smiling like crazy. And he didn't ask if he could be on the team. His statement was, I got to be a part of this. I miss it too much. And he was welcomed back in. And what he had to endure this year with injuries, and it never stopped him from every day. This is true of Kane as well. Every day that you can't practice as a high school kid, I've got to be honest, myself at that time, I'd have been like, well, Coach, I'll make it if I can. The idea of coming to practice every day to watch would have been foreign to me. Brian was there all the time and often would try to push past the hurt and couldn't. He had the highest rate of yellow cards this year for minutes played, but it's only because with that foot, he literally has no break. He's going to top speed, and then to ask him to slow down would have been excruciatingly painful. So he couldn't. But he didn't want to not be a part of what we were doing this year. And that's just a whole lot of character right there. I'm glad he decided to come back and so I could get to know him better. Brian. Thank you. I didn't recognize Luke at the start of the season. He has about a quarter of the hair as he did last year. Luke, I affectionately refer to him as my baby giraffe because he's got all these skills and he's got this stride that is like 4 of mine. And so for him to get from point A to point B, he can get up to 60. It's just not, the quickest 60. But he's also one of the most pleasurable guys I've ever coached. His desire to be a part of this program and to lead well, and that's what happened with a lot of these seniors, is no matter whether they saw field time or not, they showed leadership, and Luke did that well. Never was there a moment for an underclassman to look at Luke and go, well, I don't have to try, because Luke's not doing it. His work rate was top shelf. I asked him to play forward sometimes. I put him in the back line sometimes, and he told me, he says, I can do that. Just letting me know, what do you need? I got it. I'm willing. Again, that's character. And he's just an amazing young man. I'm glad that I had the opportunity to cross his path. Luke Nemens. Josh, when I think of Josh's season, I think of one moment. I mean, there's many, obviously. But when we were down 1-0 to Horlick in the regional finals, and we were down 1-0 early, it's like, what just happened? And there was a bit of a nervousness about what was going on. A, we didn't trail often this year. But B, it just happened so quickly, it kind of shocked us. It's kind of like being dumped in ice cold water. it takes your breath away for a moment. But Josh's work rate on the backside, as the ball went into the keeper and he tried to play it away, he made the save. I think the shot came off of Ryan's foot, right? Huh? Aiden's? Okay. Aiden took a shot, keeper made a save, but he couldn't control it. And you saw this blur coming in with Josh. And the best part was there was no moment of clumsiness about it. It was textbook. A little side volley, putting it back down into the ground, and all the wrongs that had been made by that first goal being given up were fixed. And at that moment, I had no doubt that we were going to be regional champions because of that goal. But that's the way he played all year long. Tell me what to do, how to do it, and I'm there. He and Josiah both, the Thomas More game, Josh was controlling that match from the top. And his integrity, his character is something that everybody in the program could feel. Just a fine young man. Josh Reget, come on up. Perhaps our quietest senior, but again, that I go back to the Thomas More match because we had so many people that had to step in for that match, and Coach Allison couldn't be there. And when I was giving her the report of the game, I said, "Yeah, I started Brandon on the back line that game," and her first response was, "Well, how do you do?" I said, "We didn't miss a beat." His play was exceptional. Brandon literally is like, for me, I saw him all year long, knowing going in that he wasn't going to be starting, he wasn't going to get the time that some of the other players did, and it never deterred him. It never stopped him from being a cheerleader, or did it stop him from being ready? And getting to know him a little bit and seeing his quiet demeanor, there's just a comforting and a peace to the team. And I don't even know if the team realizes it. I don't know if Brandon realizes it. But without players like Brandon, teams can get out of control when things go nuts. And Brandon's a calming influence to any team he's on. Just a quality young man. It's my pleasure to have him in the program. Brandon Rodriguez. Asked Aiden this year to step into a different role slightly. Still a forward, still up on the front line, but last year he was able to be wide and probably didn't have as much hard work to do as far as dealing with other players from the opposing team. This year I asked him to step into the center. And as a center forward, there's never a clean touch. You're never in space by yourself. You're always being challenged. And he didn't shy away from that for a moment. He is fearless in that space. And you may ask, well, this doesn't seem like a big deal. It is a big deal. If you're a player that gets to run wide and you're usually 1v1, that's way more desired than to be, well, if my back's to the goal, I've got somebody bumping me from the back. If I turn and face and start to go at them, they're coming at me from different angles. And usually not just one, because I'm in a dangerous position. And yet he was able to find other players. He was able to create in that space, and just able to work really hard. He's somebody that's taken ownership in this program and has led as a senior this year in a positive way. We wouldn't be the program we are without players like Aiden. Phenomenal season, phenomenal career, Aiden Schwalbe. Come on up. Matt would be on the board for, you know, if I talked about like Kane and I talked about Brian, Matt would be there as well, just fighting through a season where his body didn't want to cooperate well. And yet never a moment where it's like, yeah, I'm just gonna like, I can go, but I don't want to. It was like the opposite. I shouldn't go, but I'm going to. And he'd always get clearance from the trainer. It wasn't, we weren't putting him at risk. But he fought knee soreness all year. And, you know, Matt's game is his pace and his ability to find open space and create off of that. And, you know, early on in the season, he was catching it. He had 5 goals in the first 4 or 5 games, and it was really going well. And then he fought the rest of the year to find his strength, his painless moments. But to know Matt on this team is, I don't know anybody that keeps it lighter. Matt's got an amazing ability to be positive, to encourage through humor, to show through his example of what it means to love something. We had moments through the season where we would stop from training and we would talk to each other about, you know, what we appreciate about each other and things like that. And Matt more than once this year, especially to the underclassmen, would tell them, man, enjoy this, love it, because you don't know when it's going to be taken from you. You don't know if you're going to get through it. You got to enjoy every moment. And I mean, I'll probably have him come back and speak to teams in the future. I really will. That's the kind of kid he is. And yeah, just special. Matt Thompson, come on. Okay, now Jesse. Okay. I asked this young man to do something that most people would have said, no, I'm not going to do it. He spent 3 years being a defensive-minded player, and last year as a junior was second team all-conference in that role. And early on in the season, I looked at Coach Mueller and I said, what do you think about putting Ryan up top as a forward? And his response was, I think he could do it. I think he did it well. Leading goal scorer for our season. I told him after the game against Marquette, I went up to him and said, thank you for being so coachable. Because there are a lot of kids that I would have said, hey, this thing that you've been doing for the last 3 years, I don't want you to do that anymore. I want you to do something completely different, something you're not comfortable with. Something that will just help the team. And he did it without complaining, to me at least. There's a smile there. But he had goals this year that on the bench, and the guys that were on the bench when it happened can attest to it, where the kind where you turn to each other and go, oof, wow, right? Where'd it come from? And then by the end of the season, I would say that he owned it really well. He knew I need to score, I need to be the guy, and he was looking for it. I don't know that shows any more of a quality of a young man to do what's best for the team and then get rewarded for it, which is nice, than that. He had an exceptional career. I'm assuming, I saw the last 2, and if the first 2 were anything like the last 2, they were exceptional. Very proud of him. Ryan Wynot. That brings us to our captains. We'll go with our junior first. It's not often, obviously, that a junior is a captain, but I saw signs of him filling that role as a sophomore. We have a team rule that when we get on the bus after an away game, I asked the boys, I said, I want 10 minutes of silence where you're reviewing the game in your head, thinking about what you did well, what you could have done better. Where did we miss opportunities? Where did we take advantage of opportunities? Just replay the game in your head. And last year being the first year of this coach being here, some guys weren't on top of it. And all of a sudden, this sophomore sitting in one of the first few rows yells out, "Boys!" And he's got a man voice, if you haven't heard him. And I immediately knew this is a leader, somebody that understands this is what has to happen in certain situations. And that was obvious to everybody. Now let's talk about his season. He's fought through injury as well, surgery. Were you in a sling at the start of this year? No, last year. But he had to work through all kinds of stuff after his surgery. There was probably a confidence thing there, not sure, okay, how's this going to feel first time I go down to the ground? And we were able to work through it. And his play this year was phenomenal. His goals against average this year in conference was .28. That means he gives up a quarter of a goal every game. His overall goals against average for the whole season was still under 1.7. These are phenomenal numbers, and he's just shown himself to be a quality player, quality athlete, quality human being. Really proud he's in our program. Ben Majersky. And then our senior captain, Colin, I did the same thing to him as I did to Ryan. Before I got here, he was a forward, right? And I said, we're going to switch you. And we're going to put you as a center back because I think your skill set's there. And I think like 3 games into last year, I turned to Coach Allison. I said, I think we've created a monster. The conference recognized that as well, as I gave him first team all conference last year as a junior for the first time ever playing the position. His calming force in the center of our defense it's just, I don't have to worry about what's going on back there. And even the times where he'll make a wrong pass or something like that, if I just say his name, Colin, he's already telling me, yeah, I know I should have. I mean, he already knows. He's not waiting to be told and then shake his head like he, doesn't care. But he's already figured it out. And we also do something after every game, home or away, the next day at training. We kind of break down the game from our perspective. And I always ask the captains to give input. And the input he gives during those times is thorough and complete, including, this is true of both of them, but including times where he didn't feel like he was what he should have been. He's not afraid to take the moments that he feels he should have done better and tell his teammates, I should have been better for you. Too many people today try to find ways out of taking responsibility. Colin runs toward it. And that's amazing. Very proud of him. Colin Dressler. Okay. Team awards. The Rookie of the Year, he's not here to receive it, but that's for the person that was on varsity for the very first time. That would have been Dylan. Again, took when Kane went down hurt, Dylan stepped in and played most of the season without any drop-off whatsoever. He had a great season. Even though he still kicked the football. He had way more success with soccer than he did football. Defensive Player of the Year, I'll say Isaiah Montero was given that award. Isaiah last year was the backup keeper to Ben, got into a couple games because Ben was dealing with his shoulder. And this year he found a spot on the field, and his fearlessness last year as a keeper showed this year again as a field player. I can't tell you how many people backed away from challenges when Isaiah was coming at him. And he's another one that, like Matt, I probably shouldn't, but I'm gonna. He was fighting leg injuries all year, and he'd tell me after a game how bad he felt. And I said, well, what about the next game? Oh, I'll be ready. And he always was. Always was. Offensive Player of the Year for us, it's very simple. It's like the golden boot in any tournament. We take the person who's got the most points, 2 points for a goal, 1 point for an assist, and that's your Offensive Player of the Year. Again, nobody would have guessed it coming from last season, but Offensive Player of the Year for varsity is Ryan Wynant. Most improved. When I was a kid, most improved was given to the guy who barely made the team to make him feel good. That's not the case now, because this improvement was phenomenal in nature. And with a lot of these positions, like with the Defensive Player of the Year, I could have given it to 1 of 4 people. Offensive Player of the Year was simple as numbers, and Ryan earned that. But most improved, there are a number of people that could have fit this bill. But his work rate in the off season to not only take his game to a new level, but physically transform himself and put himself in a position of success was probably as big a jump and as most of a dedicated effort that I've ever seen from a high school age player. He deserves this award completely, and that is Conor Heath.
It's the yellow one, you said? All right, there.
There we go. First, do the integrity first. Again, the integrity award. You've heard me talk. There's at least 10 or 12 kids that would be high quality to get this award, and nobody would question me on it because of who they are. But the one that we decided to go with is someone that literally had a position before. It didn't work out the same this year, so we found a new way. If you go on the track behind our bench, lane 1 is a very big disadvantage for whoever's running in that lane now, because they're going to come to this divot that's going to be there, because he just kept going back and forth and back and forth and back and forth. It's easy to be a team player when things are going your way. When things take a bump and you have to find new ways, that's, to me, shows the true integrity of the human being. And he would be the one that I would have to, when we would score a big goal in a big game, he'd be the one leading the charge onto the field, which of course they can't do. So I'd have to be reminding him to get back. But I love the fact that he was the one doing it. And that's true of so many of our guys. But the one that best exemplified what doing the right thing always at the right time, no matter what the circumstance, is, for me, that this year was Evan Gustafson. MVP was the same situation. I've got so many people that could be said to be deserving of this. But the deciding factor for me was just the versatility, what I can do with this individual on the field, what they're willing to do, the energy at which they do it, the focus, everything that he brings to the game makes everybody around him better, and gives everybody else around him confidence to know that if I have to release somebody into this space, I don't have to worry, he's got it. If we're going forward and the ball's at his feet, I know that we're going to have a quality action going forward. And again, I don't know that there's any more passion for the sport than what he exhibited this year. So MVP for our program this year was Alex Scutts. We're going to go conference awards now, and Coach told me that next time, just bend them. I had honorable mention certificates that I set aside because I didn't want to put them in the box and bend them. They're still in my office at home. So you'll get them, but we're going to recognize you tonight anyway. When I got to the conference meeting, the way those work is we nominate players from our team as coaches, and then the other coaches decide. You can't vote for your own kids, which this year I think probably didn't allow us to get the true value for what we deserved. But we still had 9 recognized of our starting 11. Take that back. We had 10 recognized from our starting 11 for all conference recognition. That's good stuff. So honorable mention this year, Matt Thompson. Amy Schwalbe. I don't have a paper in front of me. Who? Cal Abchek. Again, I thought we could have been higher on those. Same with the second team. Isaiah Montero. Ryan, why not? Conor Heath. I did it again. Who?
Alex.
Yeah. See, I can't even remember it because it shouldn't be that way. But Alex Scutts. First team all conference. Ben Majersky. For the second year in a row. Daniel Chiapetta. And for the second year in a row also, Colin Dressler. And the last award that we'll talk about tonight is we had a player get all-state recognition, and that is Ben Majersky. At the beginning of the year, we set some goals. Conference championship was the first one. We're conference champions. Regional championship was the second one. We're regional champions. The third one I'm going to say isn't the sectional conference championship, because the third one was Marquette. All year long, I heard these guys say, we want Marquette. And the school I was at before this one was in Marquette's conference. So I'm thinking, well, maybe you don't, you know. But they never shied away from it. They owned it. They knew that if they're going to get to state, they had to go through Marquette. And we played Marquette to that point, tougher than anybody they'd faced in the conference in the tournament. We lost 3-0. 1-0 at halftime. These boys saw the challenge ahead of them and ran toward it. Didn't run from it. They wanted it. And for that reason, I recognize that third goal was about as close to being realized as possible. They had a great season. It's a season that they wanted, a season that they created, and a season that it was because of their efforts that made it happen. Very proud of them. It was a great season. Thanks so much.
We did get gifts for you guys. Matt, if you want to come over here. We'll grab those real quick.
Guys.
Oh, you broke it, Tristan.
We plugged in the wrong one.
Oh, maybe. Totally the yellow one. I don't think it is.
We just want to say thank you. We just want to say thank you to our coaches for just such a great season. Last 2 years have been spectacular, and 4 years with Allison for me. And yeah, just a great year from everyone. Thank you, parents, so much. And Jumper Soccer out.
Oh, yeah.
I'm just going to second that. That was very well said. Thank you, so, thank you, guys.
Glad you could all be here. If you're still waiting for Spiritware, they came through. We got one box over here. They got it to us before our banquet ended. I'm not guaranteeing everything you want is in there. I'm just saying. But that's there. So if you have some left over, come see it. But again, thanks so much for being so supportive of the guys and for us. And we look forward to another year next year. Thanks.
Can I say hi to my mother? Hi, mother.